friends, it's Melanie again from Partners in Fair, and today we are going to talk about making a financial plan. It's not boring, trust me, this is awesome, you're going to love it. I'm going to try to make it exciting. So a financial plan is vital to financial success, it really is. But a lot of people don't have one because they think they need to pay someone like a financial advisor to develop the plan for them. The thing is, that's not necessarily true. You can develop a financial plan on your own. It's daunting, I know, but don't worry, we're here to help. Here's everything you need to know to start building a financial plan and start following it too. So one thing to remember, guys, is I am not a certified financial professional, all right? I have no certifications. Everything I know is self-taught. I'm just a normal person who loves finance, and I want to help others achieve their financial goals because I want to empower everyone to take control of their own finances the way that I did, right? So I'm here to give you some of the building blocks that you need to build your own financial plan. However, these are just guidelines. If you need specific help, you should see a financial planner. That's what their job is, that's what they're there for. But hopefully for most people, this will be enough to get you started on your own without having to pay somebody. Remember that sometimes financial planners will try to sell you products that you don't actually need, okay? So unless you have a complicated financial life, you probably don't need a planner. If you do need a planner, make sure that you're seeing somebody that is fee-based and that's not commission-based. Don't let them strong-arm you into buying life insurance annuities that you don't need or high-fee mutual funds that don't perform any better than Vanguard's index funds, all right? So now that that disclaimer is out of the way, let's talk about what a financial plan is. A financial plan is basically a roadmap to achieving your financial goals. You can't build a plan until you set your goals because you need to know what to do with your money, right? How do you know what to do with your money if you don't know what you want? You need to know what you want first. If you aren't sure about your financial goals, grab our free download. It's a 4-page worksheet mind map bundle that will help you look at your financial goals and figure out what you want. It's just basically to help you brainstorm what you want out of life and to set your goals and to help achieve those goals. I call it the mind map to financial freedom, but really it can be used to identify all of your goals. And there's a link to that in the comments, so make sure you grab that. Now that you have your financial goals ready, it is time to write out your financial plan. You can do this in a journal or on your computer or wherever you like to write things down. I like to journal things out first while I'm brainstorming my plan, and then I'll transfer my fully developed plan into an Excel spreadsheet so I can help track it and things like that. But whatever works for you. You can use an app, you can use pen and paper, you can use anything that works best for you. It's your choice. Decide. So when you're writing your plan, remember that it shouldn't take into account every single aspect of your financial life. When writing your plan, you need to think about your income, your expenses, your debt, your insurance needs, and every other financial thing you can think of. Let's talk about the things that you need to add to your financial plan. Let's start with income. Your income is not just what you make from your normal job. You also need to include any side hustle income you have, any investment income, passive income, anything that makes you money, you need to include. But you should also include where you think you're going to be in the future, right? Are you looking towards a promotion, a career change? How will these things affect your income? Do you have a side hustle that or are you thinking of starting a side hustle? How much would you realistically be able to make from that side hustle? When you first write out your plan, you will need to use your current income for your balance sheet. However, it's important to think about what might happen to your income in the future and leave room to change your financial plan if your income changes. Next, we need to talk about debt. Most of us have some sort of debt hanging over our heads, right? Either credit cards or student loans or even a mortgage debt. The next part of your financial plan should include how much money you owe towards your debt. Perhaps paying off debt is one of your top financial goals. If it is, then this is where the majority of your extra income should go. If it's not, it's still important to pay off your debt, but you may not want to put every extra penny towards it. After you finish writing everything out, you can decide how much extra money should go towards each goal. Next, you need to think about your insurance needs. Insurance is great. It is there to help you if the unexpected happens. There's car insurance, homeowner insurance, rental insurance, health insurance. These are all different types of insurance products that you need to consider in your financial plan. More than likely, you're already paying these bills. So check to ensure that your coverage meets your actual needs, because you don't want to be paying too much for insurance, but you also don't want to find out that your insurance does not cover you in the midst of an emergency. The only thing certain in life is death and taxes. Your financial plan needs to account for your taxes. Taxes are due whether money is coming out of your paycheck or not, right? So if you just have a side hustle or your own business, you still need to pay taxes even though that money's not coming out. Make sure you have a plan in place to pay those taxes. You can put some of your side hustle income aside each month to make sure you have a pot ready to pay the tax man when they come, right? The same is also true for investment income. Investment gains are taxable, and so is money that you withdraw from a traditional retirement account. However, if your retirement vehicle is a Roth IRA, then you already paid taxes on that income, and you can withdraw that tax-free once you reach your full retirement age. Knowing the tax implications of not only your full-time job, but your side hustles, investments, retirement income, that is crucial for your long-term planning. One of the biggest components of your financial plan is going to be your housing. Everybody needs a place to live, right? And there's tons of different housing options, but the one you choose could have drastic impacts on your financial plan. If home ownership is one of your financial goals, you're going to have to put aside a ton of money to pay for a down payment, and you're going to have to pay off debt to increase your credit score. But maybe you would rather rent, then you don't have to worry about that stuff as much. But maybe you want to buy an RV so you can just travel full time. Maybe you want to cost share and just work with a roommate so you don't have to worry about most of that stuff. The options are endless, and there's no right or wrong method for housing. But your financial plan should consider your current housing costs and should account for what you want in the future. Your plan also should consider any additional costs that are associated with housing. That includes utilities, maintenance, HOA fees, and anything else that you might need to pay to live in a certain location. Next, we need to talk about transportation. How are you going to get around, and how much is it going to cost you? If you live in a city with public transportation, you may not need a car, but you also have to pay for their transport fees. So maybe their monthly service charge, I don't know, is like $600. Who knows? I don't know how much they cost. But you have to take that into account. If you need a car, you have to decide on what kind of car you need, whether you should buy new or used, what impact buying a car will have on your finances and your credit. So you probably already included your car payment in with your debts, but you also need to take into account gas and maintenance and anything else that is included in the cost of car ownership. You may also have realized that you don't need an expensive car, that a cheap beater will do you just fine, and you can reduce your monthly payments by going that route. These are things that you need to figure out when thinking about and developing your financial plan. So one of the biggest reasons that people even develop a financial plan in the first place is for their retirement planning. It's important to start saving for retirement as early as possible to have enough income to maintain your standard of living when you hit age 65 or whatever age you plan to retire. And your standard of living might look different for everyone. Some people have a target goal of $1 million just because it's a nice round number, but the reality is not everyone will need that much. Some people will need more. There's so many factors to take into consideration, like where you're going to live and if you're going to have a mortgage or not, your healthcare costs and insurance, whether you're going to want to travel, whether you're going to still be working in retirement or want to relax on the beach. There's all these things to consider about your ideal retirement. And the trick is, it's going to change, right? It's going to change. If you're 25 years old now, you don't know what you want when you're 65. Shoot, I'm almost 40 and I don't know what I want when I'm 65. But what I do know is I want enough money to have options so that I can do whatever I want when I'm 65. And that's really the key to this whole planning thing, is options. Next up, investments. I know investments go hand in hand with retirement accounts, especially because some people's only investment income is their retirement account. However, your financial plan should also include any non-retirement investment accounts you might have. Do you have non-retirement brokerage funds or mutual accounts? Do you own a stock portfolio? And what's your goal with these accounts? What are you investing for? It's great to be investing money in these non-retirement accounts, but your plan should outline the reason why you're doing it. Is it to invest for a home, a child's 529 plan so your kid can go to college, or just have your own personal financial security before you hit age 65? It's important to know why you're doing what you're doing, and your plan is designed to help you figure that out. If you watched any of my videos or if you read any of my blog posts, you know what's coming next. You know what goes hand in hand with investing, right? Saving money! Definitely. Building a savings account is an important part of your financial plan. At the bare minimum, you should establish an emergency fund with 3 to 6 months living expenses. However, you should also establish a savings account for any other short-term goals you might have. And these goals should be included in your financial plan. And you can even name your savings account after these goals. For example, I have a savings account called Japan, and I put money in there every paycheck so that I can take a trip to Japan. I also have a savings account for FIRE goals. Those are the things I want to buy when I achieve my financial independence goal. I'm going to buy my RV. Boom. And I have another savings account for the truck that I'm going to use to pull it. And the reason that these are savings rather than investing is because they're short-term goals. I plan to execute all of these things in less than a year. A question that gets asked a lot is, if saving and investing go hand in hand, should you save or invest? Which should you do first? Ideally, you should be doing both. Emergency funds should always be kept in savings because you don't want to risk that money. You never know when you'll need it, so you always want to have that available. But after that, you should look at your time frame to determine whether a certain pool of money should be saved or invested. Generally, any money that you will need fairly soon, the next 3 to 5-ish years, should be kept in savings accounts, because you never know what will happen with the stock market, and you don't want to have to withdraw during a crash because you'll just lose out on a ton of gains. You want to keep invested during a downturn. However, the time frame is not the only thing to consider when deciding whether to save or invest your money. You should also be thinking about your own personal risk tolerance and how much you need the money to grow. Saving accounts will not provide you a lot of interest. You will not beat inflation with a savings account. They have pitifully low returns, and that's unfortunate. But no investment is 100% safe. So you can either risk your money and grow it, or not risk your money at all but not grow it. And these are two things that you need to balance out when making your plan. A final big ticket item that you may want to include in your financial plan is charitable giving. A lot of people don't consider this when making their plan, but if it's something that's important to you, then you should make a plan for it. When we have enough money, we like to give to those less fortunate than us. And that's a beautiful thing, and it's a great goal, but it's important to include it in your long-term planning for your long-term financial needs. Do you want to give a certain percentage of your income, a certain dollar amount? You may want to only start giving when you meet a certain income threshold. All of those things are fine, and there's no right or wrong answer. You just need to make sure that if it's something that you want and it's important to you, that you include it in your plan. The thing about a financial plan, though, is that everybody has a different financial situation. There are other things that you might have to pay that I have not listed, or you might have other sources of income. Everything in your financial life needs to be included in your financial plan. But that's only the first step. A financial plan is not just about the money. Next, we're going to dive in to some of the other components of making a financial plan. Some of the other components of making a financial plan are your life goals, your assumptions, risk mitigation plans, obstacles that might pop up, and estate planning. These are things that you also need to consider when making a financial plan and that need to be included in your plan. First, we're going to talk about life goals, because in my opinion, that is the most important part of building your financial plan. Like, yeah, the money part is important and you need to write that down and have the maths right, and that's great and that's wonderful, but like, it doesn't matter if you don't know what you want, right? Would you start saving for a child's education if you don't want to have kids? Would you have a savings account dedicated to world travel if you're a homebody? No, right? You need to know exactly what you want out of life. Once you know what you want, then you can start planning for it. The next thing to consider into your financial plan is the assumptions that you're making. Yes, you're making assumptions. When you're writing that stuff down, you are making assumptions because we cannot predict the future. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, much less 10 years from now. So there's a lot of assumptions that just have to be built into your plan, and that's okay. That's okay. It's just important that you identify these. You know what the assumptions are going in so that when it comes to pass or doesn't, you can make adjustments as needed. Most of financial advisors just assume that investment returns will be approximately 7% per year. It's the number that a lot of us use when thinking about how our money will grow or looking at our post-fire retirement numbers. But we need to remember that that's just an assumption. We don't know if there will be bad years or when returns are much less, or good years when we can get much, much more. We don't know what the market's going to look like when we need the money. We just have to make these assumptions. Another common assumption is that we will get to retire on our own terms. And unfortunately, that's just not always the case. Life does like to throw us curveballs. We might get injured and be unable to work, or we might have to leave the workforce to take care of an elderly family member. We might get laid off and unable to find another job. There's just so many different things that can happen in our lives. Those are just two common assumptions that people might encounter. But everybody, every single individual has probably a bundle of them in their own financial plan. And that's okay. Just make sure you identify them and know what parts of your financial plan are facts and which parts are assumptions, and make any plans you can to mitigate the assumptions to the best extent possible. And speaking of mitigation, next we're going to talk about risk mitigation, because I know it's boring. I get it. Nobody wants to talk about risk mitigation. We're not lawyers. We're not insurance agents, blah, blah, blah. Don't hit the snooze button, though. This is real quick. Everything we do in life has risk. Everything. We already talked about insurance, which is one of the best ways we can mitigate any of the risks that we have. But it's not the only way. You might have to look at your assumptions and think of ways that you can mitigate the risk to any of those assumptions. Think about how you would respond if your investment returns are a little bit weaker for a few years, or if you have to drop out of the workforce. Think about those things. Think about ways that you can mitigate those risks. Think about it now while you're developing the plan. Hopefully, you don't have to deal with it. Hopefully everything's fine, you don't have to worry about it, but I would rather have it in the plan in case I need it, right? So something that also corresponds with risk are the obstacles. Ideally, your financial plan is going to span many, many long years, right? And that's great. However, over the course of such a long time, there will be obstacles. Things will pop up. It's just going to happen. We talked about the possibility of changing career fields. Would that be an obstacle to you? How will you overcome it? What will you do if your job goes away and you have to switch careers? And what other obstacles might be in your way on your path to achieving your financial goals? What can you do to overcome them? I know this is a very, very personal question. Everyone has a different financial situation, and everyone's obstacles will be different. It's important to plan for them because life happens whether you're ready for it or not. Those who fail to plan to fail. I know that's cliche, but it's true. And we're going to talk about the last component of a financial plan, and that is your estate plan. Look, I know there's a lot of finality to an estate plan, and you probably don't want to think about it. You don't want to think about dying, right? Nobody wants to think about dying. But if one of your long-term goals is building generational wealth to help support your family when you do eventually move on, then you need to plan for where that wealth goes. You just need to. It's far better to consider your estate plan when you are young and healthy, so that there's no question to what you wanted. You should revisit it every year or so too, just to make sure that nothing changed and you have everything on track, and that's fine, but it is something that, although morbid, you do need to consider. The next phase of building your financial plan, and I tried to make this exciting, but it's hard. But it's important, right? I hope you guys see how important all of this stuff is. So the next phase is putting it all together, right? You got to put it all together, and now you got to figure out the how. How are you going to get from where you are to where you want to go, right? Where's your path? Sometimes it's just a matter of how you manage your money. You may already be making enough money to meet your goals, and that's great. You just have to get everything laid out and build your budget and focus on putting the right monies in the right spots. It's not that easy for others, I get it. Some of you may not be making enough money to afford all of your goals. I understand that. But now is the time to make those hard choices. Do you look for ways to increase your income so you can afford these things? Or do you scale back on some of your goals? Is there a way to drastically cut your expenses, such as selling your car or moving to a cheaper area? The how will be different for everyone, right? This is your roadmap to achieving your version of financial success. Finding the ways to get from here, where you are now, to there, that is the key to solving the puzzle. And it's different for everybody. Your puzzle is different than mine. My vision of financial success is passion fire. I'm passionate about helping others take control of their financial futures. So if you're on board with that, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to help you and we're going to get there together. But I'm also passionate about life and travel and gaming and art and just like enjoying all the beautiful things that there are to life. So be warned that if you do subscribe, there will be a ton of fun along the way. Money is not life, right? It's just a tool that helps us do what we want with our lives. And once you learn that, you will be on your way to achieving passion fire. So make sure you hit that subscribe button.